So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a very, very short winter method feeder session. Okay, the weather has been freezing, I'm not going to lie. It's been -2 for the last 2 or 3 nights every single night, which is why everything is frozen solid. So let's go through the gear. Right then, so dead simple today. All I've got is a little 11-foot feeder rod. I've got the Matrix Horizon 3000 reel, and I'm just using one of the Matrix little hybrid feeders. Okay, it's classed as a method feeder. The beauty of this is that it won't leave a massive amount of bait in your swim like a method feeder does. If you've seen the underwater films that I've done with the methods in the tank and stuff, the method leaves a big footprint of bait. In winter you don't want that, okay? So I would always start with this. If needs be, you can always chop down to a pellet feeder and leave even less bait in your swim, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with some ground bait. Okay, I've got a nice lovely dark ground bait there, and I use dark in winter because the water is dead clear. I mean, as you can see down there, it is pretty clear. It's a funny green colour, but still clear. So I've got this lovely dark ground bait, okay, and that is what I'm going to mould into the feeder. Okay, I've also got some micros. They've been soaked, okay, they've had a little soak. Give them a press, they're perfect, and they break down into individual pellets again. They are absolutely fantastic. So if we start getting a few carp or a few of the bigger skimmers coming in, what I'm going to do is I might try a few of the micros, but initially I'm just going to start off with the ground bait. Hook bait wise, dead simple. Got some dead maggots there. Going to stick a single one of them on just to kick this session off. Right then, so loading up this feeder. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of ground bait in the bottom like that. Just press it in. Dead red. Just sat nicely like that, and then I'm going to cap it off with a bit more ground bait. Okay, just a nice gentle squeeze. Don't want too much in there. Right then, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off just fishing about 1/3 of the way out. That rod down. Just tighten up to that. Got to be a little bit careful with the ice, but the weight of the feeder, it is coming through the ice, so just got to be mega careful how we tighten up to that. Just let that come back, and then it's just a matter of waiting. Some fisheries you'll get bites within 3 or 4 minutes. Other fisheries, I know anglers that have left it in there for like 45 minutes and longer before they've done anything with it. Okay, I'm not like that. I need to go and find the fish, okay? So what I'm going to do is I've started off 1/3 of the way out, straight in front of me, basically, because the fish on this lake, they can move either side, but I think they can also move out a little bit as well. Okay, so by starting 1/3 of the way out, you can always cast a little bit further, okay? And another idea is as well, if you look at it as a clock face, you can start at 10 o'clock, go to 11, 12, 1, 2 and 3, basically, and just cover all that ground, okay, until you locate where those fish are. And when you've found a few, hopefully there'll be more than one there. And with it being winter, it's tricky because you're not necessarily trying to build a swim, okay? You can't cast into the same area and expect fish to come, because they just won't. They're going to get shoaled up, they're going to be in tight-knit bundles, and you've got to basically go and find them. And when you've found them, you can generally get a few out, but it all depends on the weather, the pressure of the match situation, stuff like that. But above all, it's patience. You've just got to be patient, really. And again, with this size of feeder, because you're casting around your swim to look for the fish, you're not leaving a trail of bait, if you like, because if those fish do switch on, they can be intercepting those piles as you've cast around your swim. So you want to leave a minimal amount of footprint until you locate those fish, okay? And again, probably if it is a rock hard day, the best method is either a bomb with bread or corn, or a pellet feeder with a pellet or maggot on the hook, depending on the fishery and stuff like that. But again, it's venue dependent as well. This is a bit, once you get to know your venue, you kind of know, you get like a sixth sense for it. I mean, this is only the third time I've fished this lake, so I ain't got a clue what's going to happen, to be honest. But this is how I would approach it if it was a brand new venue that I'd never been to before. So, and especially in winter, you just can't predict what is going to happen. The cloud may break, the sun could come out, it could start melting all this, and we could have a few out. Do you know what I mean? It's but you've got to explore your peg. You've got to be proactive. You can't just sit shivering, wishing you'd have stayed in bed. You've got to be active and find those fish. So this feed has been in about 7 minutes now, 6 to 7 minutes. As I say, we had a little tiny indication on it when it went in, but it didn't develop. So I'm assuming it was just maybe the line just pushing through the ice. So I'm going to give it another 5 or 6 minutes and give it a good sit, and we'll just see. Just keeping a really slack tip as well, and whenever I'm casting, because this ice is really thin, as soon as that feeder is hitting, I'm burying the rod tip as well, just to help get that line under the little coating of ice, and that'll just help pick up on any little bites that we might get. I've just changed hook bait onto one of the white 2-in-1s, just to see if that won't respond a little bit better. It's a massive standout bait, and as I say, the water is really clear, and on that black ground bait it will stand out like a sore thumb, so hopefully that might just instigate a bit of a bite, but we'll see. Still being patient. So on its second chuck, ice has got a lot more solid. I'm having trouble now getting the line down through that ice, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't think there's much point in trying to get it through that thicker ice out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in short, just see, give that a light dust in, just with a few micros on, and a good squeeze. And as you can see with the setup that I've got the front rod rest there, I've got the butt rest here, and that is pushing everything off and away from the box basically, so I can move around, I can have a drink, I can have other hook lengths ready if I need to and stuff like that, without knocking the rod and giving false indications and stuff like that. And it's just something to think about really. If it's the middle of summer, then you'd more than likely have your rod on your knee anyway, because you're going to be catching often. In winter, when it's really slow and it's really cold like this, there's nothing better than being able to put your rod out and getting a drink and just keeping an eye on it. Okay, everything is to hand basically. As you can see there, my hand is there. I don't have to overreach, I don't have to stretch. It's just hand it and easy to get to, and that is something that a lot of people kind of overlook sometimes. They get set up and they're that in a rush to get fishing and get ready that they end up stretching or sitting funny and stuff like that. You just spend that extra 2 or 3 minutes just getting your box set right, everything to hand, and you'll just enjoy your days fishing a bit better. And hopefully, if you're a bit more comfortable, you'll be a little bit more awake, and you'll see those bites a bit better as well. Right then, so I've taken you off the tripod, and this is basically my peg. So the way we want to be fishing it, ideally, is when we kick off the session, we want to be about a third of the way across, okay? Because that way, if the fish do push off, we can cast another 2 metres, another 2 metres, another 2 metres, and so on, okay? If we went straight over to the far bank straight away, any fish that are going to be in here are going to get disturbed when we're bringing that feeder back through, okay? And that's going to push them left or right. Okay, the other option that you've got is if you start off at a third in front and there's nothing really happening, you can either go out, or you can go over this way, okay? So you can start at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, half 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can work your way around that swim to find where these little pockets of fish are going to be, okay? Now, with it being winter, they're going to be looking for cover. So if you've got any weed beds or anything like that, they're going to be a good place to target. But I wouldn't target them straight away, okay? Because if the fish are out in open water and you start to bag a few, say halfway, and they get a bit skittish, they're going to back off. The place they're going to back off to is into that cover, okay? So you've always got to bear in mind what your peg is. Have a good plumb up if you can. I mean, a day like today, I mean, as you can tell, it's there's ice everywhere. I mean, look at that. It's it's like that all the way across. Now it's not massively thick ice and the feeder and the line are going through it, but it's just getting worse and worse basically. But yeah, so that's how I've approached the swim anyway, so it's something definitely to bear in mind. The problem I've got now is the ice that is beyond a third of the way out is too thick for the line to cut through, which is what it was doing earlier. So it's going in, but because the line's not sinking, it's suspending the feeder mid-water, and we just don't want that at all. I'm very, very limited as to what I can actually do now. So I've gone literally a third of the way out, maybe a quarter of the way out, where I've dragged the feeder back through. It's cut the ice so that I've managed to get the line under the ice at least. So I know that feeder is on the deck, and we'll just have to see. But it is getting colder, to be honest. I was hoping it would warm up. It's nearly 12 o'clock, so just not a good day to pick. All right there, folks, thank you very much for watching. As you can tell, it is still freezing cold. It's coming up to 12:30. The problem that I've got is the ice is clearing where I'm casting, but it's freezing straight back over. I've tried clearing it as best as I can, and it's just freezing over. On 3 or 4 of the casts, the feeder was actually hanging in the ice. The line was hooking into the ice, and the feeder was just hanging there and freezing instantly. So it's unfishable, unfortunately. But having said that, I've covered the basics and how I approach a winter session, so I really hope that you've got some value from it, and that you've got some hints and tips that you can incorporate into your own fishing, or just a different approach, just to really get you thinking more about your swim and how you approach it, especially in winter. Thank you very, very much for watching. Stay tuned, plenty more to come. Tight lines, everyone.